took down that liner panel that was in here where I could get to the inside of this the deck joint, and I cut out a bit of the sealant there and cleaned it really good, and I used 3M5200 and rebedded it from the inside. I did this before doing the outside. That makes sure I don't get any of the sealant from the outside squeezing through to the inside and running down the wall or whatever where I couldn't get to behind the panel. So I put the blue tape on it just to keep the caulking from running, because the 5200 was a slow cure, and it takes a long time for it to really set up and start firming up, skinning over. So I take the tape and I do my caulking, and then I spread it smooth, and then I put the tape over it, and then that holds it in place and keeps it from sagging and running. And the bad thing is you can't pull the tape off for several days, because it makes the caulking cure really slow, because 5200 caulking, I guess 4200 caulking as well, cures from moisture. And I do wet it to smooth it out like I want it. I usually have just a little container of water and dip my finger in it and smooth it out. That gives it some moisture for curing. But the tape holds it in place, keeps it from sagging on a vertical or even an overhead surface. That's, like I say, I'll probably leave that tape on it for at least 3 days before I try to peel it off. If you try to peel it off early, it'll pull the caulking out with it. But if you wait until that caulking has pretty much cured, the tape will peel off pretty clean, and it leaves a nice smooth surface in the caulking. Now we'll see if I can't get this rub rail stretched back on. So what I'm doing, I've got it all cleaned out really good, and I'm using 3M5200 back in the crack between the hole of the deck that I've already got cut out. And I'm just taking the gun and pumping it in to the crack as best I can, get it completely filled. Going pretty slow with it, trying to make sure I get it pumped in there as far as it'll absolutely go. It usually takes about a full tube per side to do this. I use white duct tape to cover up this adhesive caulking. Does several things. I'm using the Slow Cure 5200, and it'll have a tendency to sag out of the joint, possibly because of the angle. And the tape will keep it in place. And the tape will also keep the rub rail from adhering, so that it can be taken off in the future for future maintenance. And I try to get a little bit more here than I really truly need, and it just kind of mounds up behind the tape, and then the pressure of the tape kind of helps to push it in, just to make sure it's down in that groove really good. And sealing over the tops of these screw heads, or bolt heads I should say, because I don't know how well they were bedded, or even if they were bedded before. I'm using alcohol, specifically denatured alcohol, to clean my hands and stuff. It actually works better than acetone for a lot of things, including getting 3 and 5200 off your hands. Okay, I need to get tape on this before it starts sagging any worse. And I usually just stick it to that top flange, to the inside radius first, and that way I don't get it all over my hands trying to shape it to the face and to the bottom. This is Gorilla Tape. I usually use the regular duct tape, but they were out of it, so, and I do try to get it to bond as best I can, and just let it go right over the top of the 5200 that I squirted around the top of the screw heads. You know, that way it'll just have it bonded to it real good. And then I just kind of stretch it down over like that, and then stick it to the underside. And then that captures that 3 and 5200 adhesive caulking. Just kind of captures it in that joint right there. And then whenever I put the rub rail on, it'll give a little, like a bulb shape for that rub rail to kind of fit around, but yet still not bond to it. And it just seems to do a really good job of sealing it up good. The rub rail stays on good, but yet it doesn't bond to the adhesive caulking, so in the future you can pop it right back off if you need to, for cleaning or painting or rebedding or whatever. Okay, so that's pretty good right there. So here it is, it's all caulked in, and then I've got my tape on it all down, you can see there. And I've just flooded back in there behind that, as well as all down in the cutout and all with fresh, new caulking behind the chain plates. Okay, now I just take a rubber mallet and just start getting this rub rail back on. We'll have to use a heat gun a little bit as well, especially here at the start where it had been hanging down. Now this is going to be 4, 5, 6 inches short when I get to the end, and that's where you have to use a come along and the heat gun, and you basically just warm it up good from one end to the other, and then use a come along and pull it right to where you need it. Drop the bolt in.
Why don't I stretch down here?
If you don't use the come along and or the heat gun, or at least be outside in the bright sunshine, hot summer day, pretty much can't get it stretched out. And you can see there where I've got to come along, just running over there to the stud on the wall. And I've just got it running through the bolt hole that was already in the rub rail. There's a place for a bolt, and then there's another hole that only goes through one side, and that is for a rivet that holds it in place. And then you come back and put that trim on. So what I'll do is stretch it and drop the bolt through without that stainless trim, and then put my rivet in, and then I'll come back and take the bolt out and then put that stainless trim on, put the bolt back in. But right now, like I say, I'm just warming it up good. I've pulled it about an inch already. Now I'm going back and warming it up the second time. And then I'll do that 2 or 3 times. It's getting pretty close. What I'm going to do is pull it further than I need, maybe an inch further than I need, and leave it overnight, let it cool off. And then tomorrow I'll get the pop rivet in it. I'm going to heat it up one more time and pull it about another inch, and then let it cool off overnight probably. And then I'll get a fresh bolt, or maybe even an ice pick or something that I can feed down through and lock it into that hole where that bolt goes. And then I can, at my leisure, I can put the pop rivet in that keeps it from shrinking back, and then put my corner on it, outside stainless corner. Okay, so she's bedded in nice and tight. It'll always appear to be just a little bit loose by these chain plates, just because it has to go out away from the hole a bit to get around those chain plates. That's normal. Now I'm going to go back over it with some denatured alcohol. Anywhere any of that 5200 might have dripped or squeezed out or whatever, and clean that up before it hardens. the denatured alcohol works pretty well for cleaning this rub rail. Cigarette lighter fluid works marginally better. Okay, so I got it restretched and got the pop rivet back in the hole. That hole there's where the bolt goes when I install the little stainless corner. And you can see there how it's just pulled up really nice and tight against the fiberglass there. And looks relatively clean. And then the little stainless corner piece. I think the bronze corners looked a lot better than the stainless, but I certainly understand them switching over to the stainless. It's probably a lot cheaper. But like I say, you can see how clean that looks compared to that. So that's what I've happened to been dealing with here, cleaning up. But I was able to save the rub rail. It was a lot of work, but and that's just the port side. I've still got to do the starboard side and across the transom here. I've got the starboard side rub rail removed, which that in itself was a lot of work because it was caught being solid. But anyway, one more little thing done. So I'll get this back in the water before too long, I hope. I was hoping to get it in the water before cold weather, but I don't think I'm gonna quite make it. So I guess it'll probably be spring. Just too many other things going on as well. Too many other projects going on. And still got a lot of little projects to do on this boat.